Hi, my name's Irrelevant, and today on the show, wow, the Asus K8N-DL dual Opteron motherboard. This board's special in more ways than one. AMD's always kind of been considered one of the underdogs, but they were also the innovator, coming out with the things that pushed computing into where it is today. They were first to release a quad-core, even though it sucked. An 8-core, also, even though it sucked. The dual-core was awesome when it came out. But back in this day, they came out with the first 64-bit processor with a built-on memory controller. The memory controller, for one, greatly improved performance. However, the 64-bit, it would take a little while for software to catch up. That 64-bit tool channel was the FX51 on the Socket 940 platform. I had one of those. It was on an SK8V motherboard by Asus, and this was back in the AGPJs. We didn't have PCI Express yet. I had an X800 Pro on that thing. Now, there was one problem with this platform, and that is it needed special RAM. It used registered ECC memory, the same stuff that they put into servers. You see, it seems that it was developed as a bit of a high-end workstation server platform, so that's why it used the special RAM. At the same time, they released something called Socket 754. That was the little brother, and it would use standard RAM, but it was only a single-channel memory controller. 754 was its probably shortest-lived socket ever, because once this platform in general took off and AMD was back on top again, they improved on things, or optimized it I should say, and they came up with Socket 939. 939 would have been virtually identical to the Opteron / FX type processors with the dual channel memory controller, but instead it would take standard RAM. When I first put together my SK8V system, it was spec'd out with DDR266, and no enthusiast wants to be caught dead with that. That's like putting 2133 in your high-end Ryzen. That's a no-go. Now, because this platform did become popular among enthusiasts, Corsair came up with a solution, releasing low-latency, enthusiast-grade RAM. It would be 3200 or DDR400 with a CL of 2326, whereas standard registered ECC RAM at the time would have been, about CL3. How much of a difference would that make? Well, I don't know, but you were an enthusiast, you wanted the best, and this stuff was pretty friggin' expensive. When I got my first Ryzen, I wasn't complaining about those RAM prices. Believe you me, I have been through worse. But it's great. For the second time in most of our lives, we're seeing AMD back on top again, and this hails from the day when they were last on top. Enter the Asus K8N-DL motherboard. It uses the Enforce Pro 2200 chipset, which was a variant of the Enforce 4. This comes from a day when Nvidia was making chipsets for AMD processors. Now mind you, AMD hadn't bought out ATI yet, so they weren't a competitor, and I guess they played along. Especially since AMD being top dog at the time, you wanted them to be able to use your video card, and if you wanted to support SLI, you needed an Nvidia chipset. And vice versa, if you wanted Crossfire, you needed an ATI chipset. Something special about this board is that it has a PCI Express video port. Socket 940 came out in a period when we were plugging our video cards into something called an AGP port. Advanced Graphics Port, I think that stood for. I don't remember. And by the time PCI Express became mainstream, well, Socket 939 had been taken over. So to have a Socket 940 board with PCI Express, that's a little bit different. I can't really think of any other boards in 940 that had PCI Express at the time. This board also featured 8 SATA ports, 4 of them a dedicated RAID controller, 10 USB 2.0, 2 FireWire, it had your COM, your parallel, it had your full featured surround sound on board with SPDIF both optical and coaxial output. This might seem pretty standard today, but back then, that was a lot. This board was fully loaded, and that was a good thing because if you take a look, it doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of expansion slots. That's right, you see, this is a standard ATX sized board. And to make room for those two processors, you had to give up something. Most dual Opteron boards at the time, they would have been an extended ATX or some sort of larger form factor. This was like the only one that would fit in a standard ATX case. With the exception of this little extra sticky outy bit, it's pretty much a standard ATX sized board. So much so, I was able to cram it into a small form factor case. It was about the size of a miniaturized MATX case, and even a thin one too. But it supported a full-size ATX board plus a full-size power supply. And I crammed that in there, and I did some of the most amazing cable management work. It was a sight to be seen. And as much as I searched, I couldn't find a photo of it, unfortunately, which is disappointing because it was rather impressive. And I was doing builds like this back when I think Linus was still painting houses. If only I got into this YouTube thing sooner. Now, even though Socket 940 in the enthusiast and standard camp got replaced with Socket 939, it still stayed relevant because of the Opteron, because of the dual processor. The AMD Opteron was pretty much identical to the FX51. It was the same thing, except the FX51 was unlocked for overclocking, even though that didn't really matter because, you know, much like a lot of AMD processors today, what you see is what you got. The Opteron came in 3 variants, the 100 series, the 200 series, and the 800 series. The 100 series would have been the same thing as the FX processors, and they pretty much became irrelevant after Socket 939 came out, and in fact, they did brand some Opteron 100 processors in the Socket 939 form because there wasn't really a heck of a lot of point putting them on 940. 940, however, was good for the multiprocessor systems. The 200s would support dual processor, and the 800s would be, I think, up to 8 processors, but definitely if you wanted more than 2. So if you had a quad Opteron, it had 800s on it. And seen here are my Opteron 246s that I purchased for this board. This board was initially put together because I wanted to build a DAW, digital audio workstation. I installed it in a rack mount case and I put it in a rack with a couple M Audio Octane preamps, and I ran them off this RME Digi ADAT interface. It was a great portable little studio. I could set up live or at a jam space and record your band. Now, of course, something else special about this board that made it a bit different is it was one of the first to have an 8-pin ATX 12-volt connector. You see, even the high-end boards back then only had a 4-pin. Now, of course, this one needed 8-pin because it had 2 processors. And of course, with those special power requirements came a special power supply. This is the one that matched with it, the Antec True Power 2.0, 550 watts, EPS 12 volts. Now, your typical enthusiast power supply at the time would have been about 450, 480 watts. 550, that was a bit of a big deal. And of course, what made it special is one of the few power supplies that would support 8 pins. This was a server workstation grade power supply, and it had this interesting feature where it had a fan only connector. Those aren't standard Molexes, that's for fan only, where this would automatically regulate the speed of your case fans based on the temperatures it was pulling through and the speed of its internal fans. That's pretty much obsolete now because our motherboards do it for us. But back then, that was a nice feature to have. So, this board purchased in 2005. 15 years ago. Let's see what it can do today. Let's see. I wonder, do you think it can run Windows 10? That's a hard no. It gets stuck right here. When I tried to install Windows 10 on this system, it did not like the hardware. It couldn't even detect that there was a CD DVD drive. It just didn't like the hardware whatsoever. So I had to hijack it. I installed Windows 10 in another system with similar properties with a common hard drive controller. And then I put that hard drive controller and hard drive on here and still nothing. It's not happening. So then that begs the question, can it run Windows 7? The answer is kind of. The hard drive controller in question is an ASMedia 1061, and I have Windows 7 installed on this 128 gigabyte SK Hynix SSD and mSATA. Cute little hard card if you ask me. Now, because we're not testing this video performance at this time, I'm using a Radeon HD 6450 with 1 gig of video RAM. I know for a fact that this card has no problem running modern internet, or modern video for that matter. Now, one caveat is that driver support, it's not there. Now, one thing you're noticing right off the bat is if we go into Device Manager, we have all sorts of red flags. It does not like the built-on audio. It does not like the USB proper. Okay, I can get onto the thumb drive, but for some reason the cordless mouse doesn't want to work. And this, I'm not sure what the story is. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I couldn't install Windows 10 on here. I even tried to install Windows 7, but it didn't want to go either. The hijack did work, however. The fact of the matter is, there is no Windows 7 64 driver set available for this motherboard. I tried to finagle it. There seemed to be a chipset driver available from the Nvidia website that half supported things, but once the Nvidia SATA drivers got installed, Windows 7 froze, and I was unable to fix it. The only way to get Windows 7 to work is to go into BIOS and disable the SATA controller. The second SATA controller, it has the silicon image. I couldn't find drivers for that either. Maybe if I searched harder. Sometimes you can look at the individual components on the board and find their part numbers and get drivers direct from the manufacturer or not from like the motherboard site. And I tried that for the audio, but it still didn't work. So I actually have to use a different sound card that is supported by Windows 7 to hear anything at all. Fortunately, I have this old Asus PCI card. And there we have it. It works. So we're in Windows 7 now, and if we look, we're already using 700 megabytes of RAM. That's not bad. I was expecting more, to be honest. For the sake of anonymity, I'm gonna have the entire Facebook screen blurred out, and hopefully you can see the blocks move. We are already, we have not even started Facebook yet, and look at that spike. All right, so now let's give it a scroll. Oh, so far not bad, but then it just went dark on us. Wait, here we go. Oh, I jammed. We should almost have a timer on this to see how long this is gonna last. Still scrolling. It's been less than a minute so far. What happens if I try to open Messenger? I click and, that took a few seconds. It does a portion and then it jams. And Messenger's stuck open now. You can go away now, Messenger. Not very responsive for how much I'm scrolling. Oh, there it is. There it is. Your computer is low on memory. To restore enough memory for programs to work correctly, save your files and close and restart all programs. Oh, that's first warning. Wait, what happens if we go back up now? Oh, hold on. Oh, let's look at some meme. Every triangle is a love triangle, and you love triangles. Oh, there it goes. It will just close the browser. Just pound, done. Now, one reason why this happens is if we go and look into our system properties, we're gonna find by default, Windows 7 doesn't have any swap file setup. That's typically because, most computers these days in Windows 7 era had enough RAM to run stuff, didn't need to use the swap file. Wait, who the hell started calling it swap file? Page file. If I had page file or virtual memory, it's gonna stop that from happening. Then the performance is just gonna grind away at the hard drive, and well, I don't really care for that, to be honest. Now we can speed things up a bit by, turning off the visual effects. Then we go back to this more basic looking Windows. Now it's not going to improve the experience in web browsing and Facebook that much, but it's going to make everything else snappier. Now let's try some YouTube. Now right now it's in 720p performance and it mostly looks like it's working properly.
Boy.
Or does it?
Oh boy, cheese.
It's a little choppy. Oh, it's cleaning up slowly but surely. However, what happens if we set it to 1080?
Okay, yeah. I'll take
yeah,
the chick character.
that. It renders a few frames and then just jams up. Now, I know for a fact the video card I have in there can handle doing this, but the poor system in general. Even though we have two processors, they're up there. They're up there. Yeah, it is not recovering. We're gonna have to set it back down to 720. Still using quite a bit of processor resources, but at least it seems to be running smoothly now. It looks like we could watch some YouTube on this thing, though begrudgingly, I'm sure. The system's not exactly appreciating it. Now, I do have a wattage meter on this thing. It's actually on this Wi-Fi unit, and it's actually quite absurd. 200 watts. We're burning 200 watts just to watch YouTube. That's absurd. New systems only take about 25. Seriously, that's a 10-to-1 ratio over a modern media box. So to answer the question, can this thing run Windows 7? Well, yeah, but you really don't want to. This thing is a Windows XP era machine. And if you run Windows XP on it, well, hell, it runs perfectly fine. Let's go and do that now. We're gonna pull the card out. We don't really need anymore. And audio will be going back to normal. Now I have something a little special planned for you today. Just to add a bit of an absurd edge to this, I wanted to see what the onboard RAID controller could do. So I've prepared this. This is 4 identical Seagate 500 gigabyte SSHD 2.5-inch hard drives. 5400 RPM, they're supposedly hybrid SSD spin drives. Apparently they have about 8 gigs of SSD cache built onto them, though I'm not sure what that offers, but it just so happens I have 4 of these things. So I've set up RAID on these 4 drives for the Windows XP demonstration. So we're gonna jump right into gaming, because you might ask, can this thing game? Well, frick yeah, it can game, bud. It's effectively 2 FX51s, and at 2 gigs of RAM. That's maxed out for games of the XP era. Now, the closest thing that I have to a period correct video card is this Asus 6600 GT. The performance of it's gonna be roughly equivalent to the X800 Pro that I was running in my FX51 system. So we're gonna pop that on there and we're gonna give it a try. Well, doesn't that just look wonderful? We're gonna go back into BIOS here and re-enable the SATA controllers and also the, where is it? There we go, the SATA RAID. Ah, there we go. There's our RAID set. And it boots. Let's start off this party by running some benchmarks. Good old 3D Mark 2001. Oh yeah, I guess our hardware is working. At least this card is yielding some pretty good frame rates for those very old games. Oh, she's spinning up, bud. Oh, what do we have? 18,072 3D marks, which we know is a pretty good score for the time, at least in that. That benchmark was old already. Now, if we were going to be more period correct, we'd be going with 3D Mark 2003. Ah, quite high FPSs in the plain bits. The plain benchmark. It's a very plain benchmark. Oh, shmeash. Battle of ProxyCon. I remember thinking this was a super cool demonstration at first. I think it's supposed to be a mock-up of the ID Tech type engines of the time. The Trolls Lair. I think they were really trying to emphasize hair physics for this one. No, I'm out. Oh. I think this is the benchmark that's gonna kill it. Well, it's starting off strong. And as you pan up, oh, ho, 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 brrr. CPU test, this should be interesting. Decent frames depending on what's going on. Be nice if I could see how much processor usage I'm using right now. These guys, just smashing on each other. Just smashing on each other, bud. Actually, I don't think anyone's connecting. Look at these guys. Oh, Rag Troll. This is a funny one. It was hilarious first time you saw this guy. The 3D marks of back in the day were a lot more amusing. They just don't do this anymore. They have ways of processing all this in one cinematic now, and you don't get all these interesting, weird tests anymore. A sound test. Oh, there it is. Survey says 8,203 3D marks. Now I wish I had my numbers for my X800 Pro written down. I might somewhere. But that's that. Now, how about some practical applications? One game that I know should run well with this card is good old Half-Life 2. Oh. There's a chunk missing. Okay, that's a weird graphics glitch. Oh, frick. Textures are missing, I can't see through. Oh. I'm getting backed into corners here because I can't see the obstacles. And I know this is a glitch specific to this game on this card. Okay, this isn't gonna do. I'm getting my ass handed to me because I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, I got some issues to sort out here. I'm not liking the way this video card's behaving, even though it is working. I'm Team Red anyway, and I got a little something right here that's just gonna max this system out. Just max this system out. This system will not be able to outrun this card. So I guess we get to see what the system itself does. Whoa! Whoa! An OEM ATI, as in it's not a partner card, X1900 XT. This card was fire when it came out. It retailed for almost $900. Yes, it was very in demand, much like the 6800s are now. Get this crap out of here. Unfortunately, the 6600 GT has not aged well. But this one has. Perhaps in a long enough time span, ATI does eventually get their drivers right. While you weren't paying attention, I went ahead, got this card running, and I ran some 3D Mark benchmarks on it just to compare. As you can see, our 2001 is 22,000 compared to 18,000 from the 6600 GT. 3D Mark 03, well, that went up significantly from 8,000 to 17,000. That's a 9,000 point difference. So yeah, this is a nice strong card. So, quad laptop hard drive RAID, you say? How's this gonna bench? Let's try. Give or go. Oh my, these numbers are well lower than I would have expected. IOPS in the hundreds, I guess. Those random reads and writes, very, very small numbers. Sustained even. This is RAID. RAID 0. What's going on here, bud? Maybe those drives aren't cut out to be rated. How about we compare that to a 74 gig Western Digital Raptor of the era? Well, would you look at those numbers? With the exception of random write, the RAID array beats the Raptor by just a narrow margin. That tells us two things. We're probably better off just using the Raptor. It also tells us that a pair of Western Digital Raptors, which were drives that traditionally were able to be rated, would probably outperform this quad laptop array any day of the week. All right, now that everything's back to normal, now let's try some gaming. Crank everything. Haha, look at the top there. We're getting like 100 FPS out of this card, and I have everything cranked. Anti-aliasing, everything. Now I can see what I'm doing. Okay. This is not going well already. I'm just gonna get out of that area. Interesting detail on the face.
It's gonna be tough dodging civil protection out there in the open, but drive hard and you'll make it.
All right.
You'd better get going now.
Oh, this thing friggin' moves, bud. Oh, wow. Yeah, nice arms there, bud. They're there in spirit. Okay, try not to smash up the boat. Water hazard. Yeah. Oh. Oh, a jump. A jump. Do it. Do it. Ah. Okay. Hit it straight, bud. Yeah, there we go. Oh, don't go that way, it says. Hey, I'm supposed to set up that jump somehow. Oh, it's one of them classic Half-Life puzzle games. Put the barrels in the basket or you get the hose again. Is that enough? Is that our jump? It's possible. All right, bud. Let's go this. Because back then, a vehicle and an FPS was a novelty. Oh great, they're after me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Another jump, another jump. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's launch these guys into the river. Hey, don't let those guys hook you. Uh-oh. Now what do we do? Oh, we gotta find our way up, do we? Okay, well, we gotta dock. Hey. Screw you. Oh boy, this guy. Someone had a bad day. These guys like to hang out by exploding barrels. These are better taken down with the crowbar. You a little hungover there, bud. You're just a little hungover, huh? There, go to bed. Oi. No iron sights in this game. Oh. What happens if we use these grenades? That was close. Okay, it's broken. Now what? Oh, another physics trick. Whee! Aha! The alarm's on now. And you know what that means? That means we're gonna need this turret. This is one of those games that if they set up a hard point like this, it's because you're gonna need it. This game plays so well. Ah, even by today's standards. I just need to be better at it. All right, bud, let's go. Whoa. Okay, they're coming at me with missiles now. Oh, oh. Oh. Oh, what's this now? Side jump it. Pwah. Oh, thanks for clearing those cars for me, even though I hit both of them. Oh, they're closing that gate. That means where do I go now? Down here, apparently. Hey, I got the Magnum. Ow. Half-Life, a good old classic. Nice variety of weapons, great gameplay, interesting level design. Oh, now we have a helicopter. We're kind of doing the run and gun thing here now. Hey, hey, I said die. That guy hesitated. Don't hesitate. You guys are breaking my cover, bud. Oh boy. Bud's got a bead on me now. You're gonna clear those boxes for me? I thought I got that guy nipped in the butt. It's a running game. Kill everybody and open the gates. That was our challenge for that last little speed bit. Oh, 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 mines. Oh, oh, whee. When is an FPS a racing game? Ah, this guy's still on me. And we have some music, which means it's the tense part. Oh, oh, I ran right over that one. Oh, what happened? I completely wiped out. Ah! You gotta stay on top of these. Okay, that didn't go well. No. Still with this water level. Nice place for a truck. Turn, I said. Wow, the physics on this thing are mental. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, they are really hamming. Oh. Where do I go now? Nowhere. I died. Well, that right there is just a taste of one of the best games ever made, Half-Life 2. Where do we go from here? Well, another FX51 era title that was pretty fire, or at least the start of an era where these guys actually managed to release sequels, unlike Half-Life. The original Far Cry. Now, where did I leave off with this one? Oh, in a car. Oh, hey, bye. Sorry. Oh. From one vehicle to another. Oh, but I gotta keep moving. Something's hairy here. These controls are screwing me up. And I got dead. I better go hide in the bushes. Now, we gotta double check to see if these graphics are cranked. That's about right. Very high, anisotropic filtering should be able to go. Yeah, this is cranked. And my mouse sensitivity is off the charts. Someone knows I'm here. Yeah, one hit and I'm done. Sucks when you get saved with like no health. This game, I'm trying to judge how well it's aged because I think it's impressive, all the foliage. I think that's what was impressive by it. Because if you look at the actual models, like look at that gun. Not the best looking gun in the world, but this game was up there at the time.
All right, Doyle, I've spotted the carrier. Now tell me, how do I get in?
All right, Doyle, I've spotted the carrier. Now how do I get in? Does this guy always talk in a radio announcer voice? I don't know. Do I always talk in a radio announcer voice? Oh, great. I've been discovered. And I haven't got enough ground to use my gun. Yeah, this game's a bit unforgiving. All right, Doyle, I've spotted the carrier. Now tell me, how do I get in? Now, how far can I swim before I have to come up for air? So far, he's given her. Wow, this guy can hold his breath forever.
There he is! Fire in the hole!
Oh, great.
Damn it! I'm sealed in.
Oh.
Make your way to the top of the carrier. You should
No,
be
it was a
able to
cutscene
control the
change.
boat from the upper deck. While you're in the carrier, see if you can
Damn
find
it!
any sign
I'm
of
sealed
power.
in.
You know where-
Crow's gonna have our ass if we can't find that guy.
I don't get it. There must be a couple of dozen guys.
I haven't alarmed anyone.
You see something?
Oh, great. He set off the alarm. And you die real quick. I think that's enough of this game. I think you got the point. Now, there is one question left unanswered. The question that's always on everybody's mind whenever a gaming system comes into question, comes into play, comes into write better dialogue, bud. That question is, can it run Crysis? Well, let's find out. But in order to do that, I need to get Steam running because my Crysis is on Steam, and in order to do that, I have to go back to Windows 7. So we're gonna disconnect this. Ugh, finally done with these guys. So booted into Windows 7, just as a comparison, I ran 3D Mark again, and we only got 14,987, so we'll call that 15,000 compared to 17,000 in Windows XP. That could show you the hit it takes running the more intensive operating system. Now with the card in place, it becomes a rather tight fit, which is of some concern because this X1900 XT, she runs really hot. She's a bit on the cool side right now because we just did a reboot. No, 70C on the backside. Whew. Whew. I'm surprised how quiet it is idle, but it lets itself brew quite hot. Ooh, there it goes. What do we have here? If I go to options, system settings, graphics, and I select optimal settings, what's it gonna tell me? Change to medium spec. Really, medium. We'll turn off motion blur, but medium. Okay, we have our medium. So now let's see how this is gonna run. It is running. Oh. Okay, we're not out of it yet. We need to go into here, system, advanced, performance, advanced, change the page file, automatically, okay. Now with virtual memory. All right, I've rebooted. I've confirmed that virtual memory is on. I've also disabled those opening cinematics. Come on, buddy, you can do it. I know it can do it. I've had Crysis running on this before. There we go. So what do we got? 21 FPS. Oh, that's yeah, that's not gonna do. So
Nomad, JSOC indicates that the KPA have a command post on the Eastern Peninsula.
do they now? Okay, what's it take to get this more up to spec? Graphics, advanced, choose. Well, we're at medium already, so all we can do from here is go down. I would like to keep my native resolution. Okay, 30 frames a second. This might be playable now. And it's funny because the graphics, they kind of remind me of Farcry now. Everything looks a lot more simple. There's something strange going on with the sound. You hear that? Everyone sounds muffled. That's probably because of my sound card. Well, 30 to 40 frames a second, it actually feels pretty playable.
Get to the rendezvous wayside. There's something there you need to see.
What have you got, Prophet?
Just get up here. You wouldn't believe it if I told you.
On my way.
This reminds me of the old days when my computer wasn't good enough to crank games and I had to compromise with some lesser graphics. But yeah, 30 to 40 frames a second in Crysis. I guess that answers the question. Yeah, it kind of can. How loud is it right now? The card's not even ripping. We might have a situation where the frame rates are low because the computer itself, the processing, doesn't have enough horsepower to get the frames that we need, so the card's not working as hard as it can. We might have to retest this card on a processor set with more horsepower and see what happens. In the meantime, I think that's it for today. I think we've answered the questions and come as far as we can. Really, this was just another quick jaunt through memory lane to try to see what this will do. A dual Opteron, 246. Oh, now I hear it ripping. In fact, I think it's the processors. Oh yeah, the processors and the chipset cooking. And this power supply is cooking too. Before we end this, let's just check real quick. Oh yeah, 266 watts. Now that's nothing compared to new systems when they get dimed out, but that's not the most efficiency for the amount of horsepower we're getting. But that's it. And once again, I don't know how to end these videos. So, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, let's edit that out.